right. Welcome back to another episode of Generally Assembled, your favorite House Republican podcast. Jason Gottesman, joined by Representative Jesse Topper.
I'm back.
We're all back.
We're all
well,
back.
Well, not for Straub. He's still not here.
Well, we're back, and Mike will eventually join us.
A lot of stuff happened over the last. Well, actually, nothing happened over the last several months. Since
a lot of stuff has happened, but nothing has been particularly productive. How about
that? Yes, and I think it needs to be pointed out, as the Democrats were loath that I pointed out yesterday, among some other members. This week we have 38 resolutions that we're doing in committee and on the floor, and 19 total bills. That's a 2-to-1 non-substantive to substantive ratio for your Pennsylvania House of Representatives. That's look, say what you will about what happened when we were in the majority. For a General Assembly that has gotten 7 bills, 8 bills to the governor to be signed, that's your taxpayers, your tax dollars at work.
Well, we're in a logjam because at the end of the day, the budget is not finished.
Correct.
And that's what, yes, there is money going out, but that fiscal code, which says where dollars need to be driven out, and I know that's really weedsy to talk about things like a fiscal code, but at the end of the day, it's this simple. The budget process is not done.
Correct.
And we are in September, and we're going into October. And at some point, this logjam has to be let loose, or we will continue to see these kind of weeks where we can't get anything done. Now, look, my father and mother, who are great conservatives in their own right, always say that it's actually better for the taxpayers when the legislature's not passing a bunch of bad bills. But we do need to get the necessary work done here, and that is the budget. We have to finish this process.
Well, but I think you're right there. We need to get the basic work done, and that basic work is not getting completed.
Right.
It's getting debated, it's getting talked about, it's getting politicized, but it's not getting done. And in that way, I think we're very much mirroring what's going on in D.C. With the federal government and its budget. And
look, it mirrors our society. I was talking to several groups about politics in general and kind of the divisiveness and the nature of not being able to get. And I said, well, really, general public, as I spoke to several different groups, look in the mirror, because that is the reflection of what the culture is right now, of this inability to put maybe personal agendas aside or personal feelings aside to say, we have to actually accomplish something.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that in so many aspects right now, this idea of entitlement and, I'm owed all this, and if I don't get it, then I'm just taking my ball and going home. It's reflective in government right now. And at some point, when do you as a government become leaders to say, no, this is not how we're going to operate? And I think we're way past that time.
Yeah, and look, there's been a couple of opportunities that have confronted us over the last, that are confronting you as lawmakers right now. One is the 101-101 tie, which technically currently exists in the House.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is this Capital All-Stars game, the softball game for Hunger that happened last night. And, one of the things that Leader Cutler said is that we need to use opportunities like this, where the chamber is tied, where you have literally House members and senators, Republicans and Democrats, on the same charity softball team. Mm-hmm. If you can't use these situations that are presented to us to reduce the unfortunate stigma of bipartisanship, what are we doing with our time?
Right, because some of it, and I'll even take a step further. There's certain things that are bipartisan, which means groups come, and then there are certain things that should be nonpartisan.
Correct.
Like the idea of doing the job. That's nonpartisan. Yes, granted, we have to really work to get a good product, but that work is not impossible. I mean, to be quite frank, guys, this isn't rocket science. Like there's no issue that we aren't close to being together on. But again, it's about putting personal agendas aside, as you said, taking opportunities like this to say we can't just ram something through. We're at 101-101.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we take some steps today, and hopefully in October, we're able to figure this out.
Yeah, and there's some other important work that's going on, and you're on the Basic Education Funding Commission, which has been holding hearings across the state, talking about ways in which we can work through this problem of schools in crisis and our education system, which I think we all realize is in need of dire change, and we need to figure out what that change actually means for the state government and for schools.
Right, and the commission's role is to address the funding formula, how the dollars are driven to the school districts throughout the state. It is not to come up with this big pot of money. You know, that job is of the General Assembly and the administration to decide how much money, but the structure has to be sound. And anyone who has been a part of public education knows that the structure has been unsound.
Correct.
And, oh, by the way, the courts have now said the structure is unsound. The problem, even with these hearings at times, is we tend to go down areas that are not for the commission to go down. You know, and specifically about the amount of money. That again is to be decided in the budget process. We first have to make sure the House is strong. I've compared it to several people as if you try and put, you know, $6 billion or whatever there are some people out there suggesting. If you tried to put that through this formula, it would collapse. I liken it to it's like putting a cinder block on top of a little popsicle stick house. It just collapses. It's not set up for that. It's not designed for that. We're going to hear testimony, I believe, about that on Thursday of this week, where the business officials are going to come in and say, look, it's about fixing the structure. It's about looking at big changes like integration and regionalization of services and possibly having statewide healthcare contracts, things that not just save money, but essentially expand the tax base so that we don't have the real inequity, which is local tax bases, some who are very wealthy and some who are very poor. And we have to address that structure. So there's a lot going on there. I'm always excited about opportunities, even as I get frustrated sometimes with how things are going. But I really think that is another opportunity that we have as a commission to make a unified look, I hope the recommendation is not one of those majority and minority recommendations. I want to see one by consensus to come before the General Assembly because I think that'll have a much better chance of passing.
Yeah, and look, I think this is one of those areas in which Republicans and Democrats have agreed that there is a problem, right? There is a problem in our education system, and everybody you talk to is going to say, is there a problem? Yes. Will you support more funding for the problem? Yes. Well, then everything starts to diverge, right?
Right.
What else are you going to do?
Because we know that money alone
correct
does not fix this problem.
Sure.
There is no one who disagrees with that. But those other issues are real issues that have to be worked out, and that's, as I look at education, kind of the state of education, what we can agree when we talk about the schools that are in crisis is that there are also communities in crisis. And a rising tide should lift all ships. If we fix education in some of these areas, the communities will no longer be in the same kind of crisis situation they are now. And so how do we do that? Well, there's a lot of different options on the table, but none of them involve just an amount of money because we know that the root of the problem goes so much deeper.
Well, yeah, and look, this is all one part of a piece of a bigger puzzle, right? Which is how do we make Pennsylvania a place where people want to come, live, work, and invest and grow our Commonwealth? And, you know, when there are great schools, no matter what community you go to in Pennsylvania, people are going to want to stay here.
That's right.
When people look at a place like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or any of our urban centers and they go, you know, our employees can come here and find a good education for their kids, find a safe community, find a place where living is affordable and where we can get a good return on investment for bringing our money here to Pennsylvania to build a business or build a corporation or a new headquarters or whatever. That's all part of a larger puzzle, is figuring out our school system. When you're educated here, when you had a good education in Pennsylvania, it means you want to stay in Pennsylvania because you're close to your community, you had a good experience there. It ends the brain drain. It allows the people who come into Pennsylvania for their education at a higher level, because we have great higher education institutions here, to then want to stay here, right? They want to look at Pennsylvania. They want to stay in Pennsylvania. They want to grow in Pennsylvania when they want to grow their families in Pennsylvania.
It's the silver bullet. Education is the silver bullet to whether we talk about crime, whether we talk about employment, whether we talk about, again, attraction for Pennsylvania. We're talking about lowering the tax burden because the tax base is more spread out. All of those things come back to education, and that's why it's such critical work, and that's why it's such difficult work.
Yeah, I even thought about this last night when the news about this looting in Philadelphia last night. That was just a widespread, and it seemed, I don't know if I'd say it was coordinated, but certainly you had a large group of people who decided they wanted to go and knock over a few stores last night. in Center City. We're not talking about in Kensington or,
No, we're
West
talking about
Philadelphia
right down there by Reading Terminal Market,
Correct.
right down there by City Hall, right down there by the Philadelphia School District building that I was just in, the other day for one of these hearings.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a safe and productive place of education, when your community is thriving and vibrant, that's not an activity people tend to engage in. Mm-hmm. They engage in that activity as a means of last resort, or because they don't feel as though there's any consequences, or because they don't have any examples or better options. This is not something that you find in a place where education and safe communities exist. It's just not there. Right. It's something that certainly needs to be thought of as we're advancing, not only policy on education, but policy in supporting our police and prosecutors, policy in terms of economic development, and what is the long-term effect on communities and the choices they have and the things that they have to face every day.
Right, absolutely. It all goes hand in hand. We are responsible for seeing the big picture, and when I speak to education groups in my position throughout the state, one of the things I close with is please start looking at things just outside the education bubble. Because in education, everybody who works in it has that's been their life, right? It's been teacher, administrator. Look outside the education bubble, as we have to do, see the big picture and understand how it fits and understand the role. And then that can change your perspective. That's what I try and do as a lawmaker all the time. Don't just look in my view, but to try and look at the whole view, the whole picture. We hear it all the time, sometimes in areas like mine, rural, just sell off Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia's all our problems. Philadelphia is also a huge part of Pennsylvania. Our ports, our transportation, so much economic development drives through Philadelphia. So that's not how it works in order to create a better Pennsylvania. Like, we have to fix it. We don't have to eliminate it.
Well, Representative Topper, I could talk about this stuff all day, but I really don't want to.
That's right. Now it's time to talk about other really important things coming up. One of my favorite weekends every 2 years is upon us.
The Ryder Cup, I'm assuming you're talking about.
I mean, it's the greatest team competition in my mind in sports. I can't when you see Team USA go up against Team Europe, the excitement, the fans, it's a completely different golf experience. But it just ignites a kind of patriotism like that. I don't know how to describe it.
But I think you're right.
Even the Olympics, I don't think has that for me like the Ryder Cup.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think one of the reasons it's this way is because of the format. When I played, high school golf, it was a points format. And that really brings you together as a team. It's not an individual score where like you're out there trying to do the best you can. I mean, of course, that's golf. We played match play, 1 point for the first 6 holes, 1 point for the second 6 holes, and then 1 point for the overall match. And, you had a playing partner. So they played somebody else, but you were on you were paired together, you're on the same team, and you were scraping together on these match play rounds, trying to beat somebody for a point. And that is the essence of competition that is oftentimes lacking in golf. Because golf, you watch a tournament on the weekends, maybe it's exciting, you got 2 or 3 guys in the mix that are really going to be the ones who are playing well. And that's kind of it. This one is, this pairing is 2 down with 3 to play. Can they come together as a team?
Right, and in match play, it doesn't matter. And this is why I was supportive of the pick of Justin Thomas, even though it was kind of pilloried by a lot of people. Because in golf, in match play, it's not about what kind of form you're in. It's about your will to win.
Yeah.
Because you can have a lousy hole. It doesn't matter. Because that's just 1 point. That's just one hole. You're not. It's not a cumulative effect throughout the round, which is what gets most of these pro guys in trouble. It's just, can this guy go out and find the will to scrape out a half point or get a point? And if you're an American, you don't trust Justin Thomas to do that, then you haven't watched golf over the past 5 years.
Well, all that said, the last time the United States won a Ryder Cup on European soil, I was 9 years old.
And that's, again, excited. I'm a big Zach Johnson fan. He's the captain this year. I'm just...
You might be the only one. You should write him.
Yeah, he's you know, I got to meet.
Iowa's favorite golfer.
He was. There's a guy who was, I think he was like 6th or 5th on his high school team. Like he was never the guy that came in with all the fanfare, and but there's another look at his career. You know, he's going to be in the Golf Hall of Fame, World Golf Hall of Fame because he won 2 majors. A guy who didn't have near the physical ability of so many of these other ones.
Yeah, not a long hitter, a grinder.
Yep.
And a guy, you know, he wins.
Never reached a par 5 in 2 shots at the Masters he won. Everything was his wedge game, his short game. Yep.
He wins when everybody else loses.
Yep.
When it's you know, that Masters that he won, it was pouring
Cold.
rain,
Yep.
awful conditions, but his game has always been so steady. So you can count on him to go out and shoot, you know, a couple under a round. He's not going to go and shoot 61, 62 and blow everybody away. But he could do that in tough conditions.
That's right. And when the pressure was on, too.
You know, my favorite thing about Zach Johnson is he can hit the ball when he's not even trying.
All those great clips. Yeah. But look, he's the perfect guy, I think, to take us into us, because I talk like I'm on the team.
Well, you're an American.
But that's what we do, right? Like
Yeah.
it becomes that time of like, yeah, it's us against the world. But he's the perfect captain to take us over there.
Well, it's us against Europe. It's like World War II and World War I. And
not
the War of
we were actually,
1812.
yeah, but we were actually, a lot of Europe was on our side too, though.
Well,
I mean, I think it's more.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of saved Europe.
We did save Europe, and it's like the Hunger Games. As a result, we play them in golf now and try to beat them. Right?
Never watched the Hunger Games.
You've never watched the Hunger Games?
I'm not.
You
no.
are missing out. You're really missing out. You need to go spend some time. It's 4 movies. Just take a day and watch them.
Okay.
I've never read the books. The movies, though, you know, my wife and I do not agree a lot in terms of what we watch on television. Those Hunger Game movies come on. We are sitting there. We are stopping. It's on television.
Okay.
It's on.
Worthwhile, huh?
It is worthwhile, and I think you know, the Hunger Games says a lot about. I think it's a very good reflection on who we are as people.
Okay.
I'm not going to get too philosophical on the Hunger Games, but they're just good movies. It's good movies. It's like we talk about Marvel movies.
Right.
They're good. You know, you turn it on, and at some point you're like, wow, this is just a really good action-packed.
Right, I'm going to make it an investment of my time then. But
you really should.
That will not happen this weekend.
That's fine, because you're watching the Ryder Cup. You'll be watching Team USA lose in the Ryder Cup.
No. How dare you?
I don't think we're going to win. I just don't. I have no confidence.
No. This is... You can't think like that.
I just don't.
This is why we lose.
Look,
I'm talking about golf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ludwig Aberg is going to destroy us.
Wow. Okay.
Our team is...
Look, I'm concerned. The Europeans have a great team, and all those guys are hot right now. But
look, I want us to win. If we win, I'll come in here next week and in supplication.
All right, but this is. I believe that this is when we turn around. I believe that we win by 2 points.
No, our best chance at winning in European soil was in France, and we came so far away from winning that.
We were
Cup.
terrible. But that is going to be different. I believe Ricky Fowler and Brooks Koepka come through in a big way. Two guys that I think Justin Thomas is going to be on a mission to show why he should be there. I think Scotty Scheffler is the most consistent ball striker right now in the world.
But he's a terrible putter, and putting means everything in match play.
That will not happen this week on those greens. I think he turns it on, and I think we win by two points. That's my prediction.
I think we get blown out. I do.
Wow.
I think
this
we do.
is okay. Well,
I don't want it to happen.
Chuck, you've heard it now, Chuck. This is the generally assembled picks. Jason Gottesman, being very unpatriotic, thinks we're going to get blown out. Jesse Topper, draped in the red, white, and blue of America, says we will prevail against the odds.
Look,
and that is why I am the elected official, and you are not. All right. Send this out, Jason.
All right. Well, that's generally assembled for this week. We will be back next week, hopefully, with a new podcast and a Team USA victory, which I will come back and celebrate, like I said, in supplication and of Representative Topper's golf forecasting and electoral ability. All right. Well, for Representative Topper, I'm Jason Gottesman. We will see you all very soon.